God friended me. Episode 5, unfriended. Ooh, God's not your friend anymore. Find out why. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
I mean...
Friends.
Before we go and on, I'm messing up the words. So, I mean, it's only accurate that we take into account who our friends are, because Lord have mercy, if God unfriended me, I don't know what I would do. So welcome to the after show, episode 5, called Unfriended. I'm your host, Jamie Alexander.
Hey everyone, I am Mina Wahab.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And we want you to stay all the way to the end because we have a special segment. We are going to share a very inspirational quote where God spoke to us over on Twitter, along with a fan shout out. So make sure you stay tuned. But for now, let's jump into this episode. How did you feel about this episode 5, Unfriended?
I mean, I really liked how it started out with kind of like, oh, well, what's going to happen now when God's not your friend? It's kind of like, instead of having the same formula repeat itself, you have like a little bit of a road bump, but then it's still the same formula at the end of it. But I think it's nice in a way because the whole episode is about, okay, now you don't have the training wheels anymore. Are you still going to be that person when that person isn't directly watching you? You know what I mean? Like, What are you going to do when you're not being watched in the same way? You don't have the same dynamic. Are you still going to live up to the person that you were when you did have that authority figure monitoring you?
Yeah, I have to agree. That makes perfect sense. And, you know, kind of what I was thinking about the episode overall was the same. I'm just seeing, like, I'm seeing Miles understand a lot more about his role in this.
Right.
Because like you said, to have that authority figure pulled away, it's like, well, are you still going to show up? Mm-hmm. What does this look like for you? Who are you? And I think we learned a lot about him in this episode. So let's just talk about that. We're not friends. So just being unfriended, again, I think it was caused by this hesitation that Miles has. Like, even us as watchers, we're in the rhythm now. It's episode 5. Mm-hmm. You know what you're supposed to do, Miles. When you get the friend request, no hesitation, no backing out. You're either in or you're out. And to have that separation was, you know, I was afraid for him, just in the sense of like, okay, well, what are you going to do now? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I like the way that he showed up, even though it took him a minute. I like the way that he showed up because it ended up being very useful.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. It's just, I feel like we know that he is this person. Like, he's experienced, but in a weird way, I feel like he's always been this person. Even when he wasn't, I feel like he still was. It's just, he was kind of like suppressing who he really was under this facade of, oh, I'm an atheist, and oh no, like everything my dad says isn't true, and blah 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 blah. Yeah. Like, I kind of feel like he had this within him this whole time. He just needed the right set of circumstances for it to fully shine.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that, especially because, too, everybody else sees it in him. In every episode, before they even know what he's doing, they're like, what are you, my guardian angel? Yeah. Okay, fine, my guardian atheist in this, you know? Yeah. So it is something that shines through. So I do think that that's something that's becoming much more evident to him because I'm seeing bolder choices from him. Right. You know, even when he's making mistakes, he's like, look, I'm sorry. All right, what's next? You know, he's moving with much more of a boldness, which tells me he really is getting the hang of this thing and grasping onto his purpose and showing up for his friends and for these people.
I genuinely wish that there were more people like Miles in the world. Like,
absolutely.
Just what a beautiful person, right? Like, I watch this show, I always get teary-eyed towards some part, and then I'm like, I just want the world to have more Miles.
Absolutely. Well, maybe this show will be a testament for people to want to emulate that. Mm-hmm. I know it's inspired me in the same way where, you know, I kind of feel like I've never really been afraid to like help people or anything, but just being more cognizant of it, not knowing like, you know what, somebody asking me a question or doing whatever, if I can help them, I'm going to do it because you never know the ripple effect it's going to cause. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about a little bit of that ripple effect, like the aftermath. You know, you spoke about him not being God's friend, which, one, why would an atheist be upset? You don't even believe he exists. What you want to be friends with God for? So that's kind of interesting.
Well, he still doesn't think God exists. He just thinks the account is real. So I just want to make that clarification.
No, yeah, I love it. But, you know, in
Yeah.
the context of everything, if this
Yeah.
is God, it's just like, you know, whether he's your friend, you know, that's just the way I'm seeing it. You know, whether he's your friend or not, like, doesn't matter. You're an atheist. But the millennial prophet, like we've already spoken, it's innate within him. So, of course, this force that's driving him to kindness and helping people and giving him that opportunity is going to be A-okay with him because of his soul. This tortured soul, Emma Blake, Rachel, her sister passing. I thought it was really, here's the car accident thing coming up again. So I kind of like how they're leaving us with that so we know how important it is to, in Miles' life and whoever, you know, his father's life with the saxophone last episode. And then he gets to connect with Rachel. What do you think about that whole interaction and how that unfolded?
It's so interesting how we had the conversation about the car accident in the previous week's episode, because much like life, I mean, this episode shows how there are conversations you have where it's like, well, thank God I had this conversation because now I'm better equipped to deal with X, Y, and Z. Like, how many times have you felt that in your own life where you're like, I was literally just talking about this, how crazy. Now you can actually fully dive into something because you already have that background. And it's almost like the whole Fibonacci sequence, like everything is perfectly aligned in this beautiful mathematical way where it's like, if you didn't have that conversation, would you be able to talk about it with such openness and vulnerability?
Right.
When that was the first time you've kind of had this conversation about, you know, like talking to your dad about the car accident,
Right.
and then having that whole saxophone experience of like saving the saxophone because it was a sentimental object, you
Right.
know? So I love how Miles used his experience and his own personal trauma to help someone else. And I think that's all we can do. Like, we don't have to share our pain, but when we do share our pain, it is so beautiful what it can do for other people. When people see, oh, this person has been through this, if they can overcome it, so can I, and I'm not alone. Everyone is
Right.
connected in some way.
Right. And it allows the word or the advice to resonate because it's so easy to be like, you don't know how I feel or you don't understand. And it's like, actually, I do. I had the same situation you did.
Right.
So the vessel that, you know, this advice or help and assistance comes from is very important. And, you know, again, hopefully this show is something that inspires people to share their pain. I mean, you don't have to go on, you know, Facebook and just be like, I'm hurting, you know, and blah, like sharing it all like that. But when you see an opportunity or someone hurting, and you feel like there's a connection and can resonate, I think it's important because as we're seeing in this show, he had the strength to be relentless because he had to overcome that same exact pain before. So, I mean, that was just very valuable. And I liked the way he showed up, even though he wasn't sure if God was watching or his friend anymore.
Yeah. No, I like that. And, you know, it's what you do when no one's watching that I think counts even more.
Yes, absolutely. So that was really great. And it was interesting because for a second, I didn't know what was going on with that Jack character. I'm like, okay, what happened? Who pulled who out the car? Red hat? What was going on? They had me for a minute there. I just wasn't sure what was going on. But it's even amazing how that unfolded. Just kind of like things aren't always what they seem. Okay, so you saw a guy standing there during, you know, after the car accident and then just ran with the story and it just became this whole thing that almost left this girl just forever tormented thinking that, oh my God, I had an argument with my sister and that was it. That was the last interaction, when really what was discovered, the last interaction was the highest form of love. Like, let me save my sister. Let me take care of my sister. Let me take, you know, the fact that she was mad about her not going to AA absolutely did not diminish her feelings or her love for her sister.
Yeah.
She saved her life.
I loved that. Like, it's almost like this was so important on so many levels because it just showed how the truth will set you free, literally.
Literally.
And it does, because I think when things are covered up or when we don't talk about things or when we just sweep it under the rug and we don't really talk about how we feel or what happened or the facts, or the facts are muddled, I think it's so hard to really deal with things when you don't have the truth in front of you, because that's why when people lie to themselves, they can never fully overcome things because they're not admitting what the facts are. And when you have the facts, even when they're hard to deal with, at least you know what the truth is, and at least you can move on with your life in some way, because lies hold you back. The truth really does set you free. And I love how Miles was so determined to find that truth and to communicate it with her. I mean, that's not really his job, and maybe the outcome could have been bad, but I think, like, especially as a journalist, I understand the value of finding the truth, and how it is only when we let people know what the truth is that people can become more aware and actually start to care about the people around them. So that message deeply resonated with me.
And I mean, how reflective is that message when it comes to Rakesh and Jaya?
It's so,
The second he had all the information, first she was hiding pieces of things, whether she found out earlier that day or not him not having all of the facts. I could see how that made him feel some kind of way. And then now I'm getting it at dinner when your parents are down your throat. My parents are lying because they want me to be someone else. Now I found out you're leaving. But the moment he was able to untie the knots, sometimes I see these muddled faxes having like a string with a bunch of knots. Like, we need to get that all untied and clear. He was able to see, like, all right, she's leaving. I don't like it. That sucks. But let me show up for her. Let me be proud. And of course, Miles' sister was able to support him in that, because we all need a little help. But it just, again, gave him space. The truth will set you free. It gave him so much space to let her go in love, which is really important for both of them.
Yeah, and when you really love someone, even you don't act selfishly. You know that if it's genuine love, you want to see them blossom and grow. If you want to, like, hold them back because you want them for yourself, that's very selfish love. It's not the kind of love that is healthy. So I love that he was able to kind of shift and be like, yeah, obviously I'm sad that you're leaving, but I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, and actually what you said just takes me to this point too. Sorry, I just lost it a second. You said that not holding on selfishly, right? I kind of felt that with Rachel and Emma. Because what was that quote? He said an amazing quote about, you have a calling, it's art and life. Start living like your sister's choice mattered. So she was almost selfishly, well, she didn't know.
Squandering.
Yeah, squandering her life.
An opportunity of a second chance.
And I think having that truth that her sister saved her also gave her the fuel, just like knowing that, Jaya was leaving gave Rakesh the fuel. But Rachel having the fuel that Emma saved her should be the next step. Like, yeah, my sister didn't save me, so I can just keep drinking and what? That would be the selfish choice, like wallowing in the sorrow. But no, she has an opportunity. She needed help.
And we all deal with things in different ways. Like, when I saw this, I was like, I can't imagine if my brother did something like that for me. Wow. I would feel guilty for so long. And I think I would struggle with, like, why was it me and not him? Like, how come I'm the one who's alive? Like, that would actually really bother me, because I would feel like, in some ways, like, undeserving or, like, guilty for someone else putting their life on the line for me. So, like, in my mind, I kind of was like, well, this could go one of two ways, but I'm glad that she was strong enough to be like, okay, I'm going to do this for my sister and for myself. I'm going to get help. I'm going to go to AA meetings. Right. And, like, she's holding herself accountable now. Like, we saw that transformation at the end of the episode. In real life, I'm sure it takes way longer, but I loved that it came full circle like that.
It really did. And speaking of coming full circle, our last point was on purpose. So this whole episode really was about purpose at the end of the day. Rachel and her art, that's purposeful living. And a lot of the times our purpose comes from our pain. Same thing with Miles. His purpose showing up in Rachel's life came from his pain of overcoming the death of his mother in a car accident. And not only that, but even Miles showing up with the God account unfriending him, to him still showing up and starting to move authentically from his heart. He showed up. He didn't keep getting text messages about it. Right. Kara didn't have a chance to ride him because he lied. And all these things. So we really covered purpose in this episode, and I just love it so much. Well, before we get out of here, we found a little quote on Twitter about purpose, actually, and thought it was a really great share because God speaks. This is our special segment where we find little ways that God speaks to us through social media. He didn't friend me on Facebook, and I'm not running around the city saving people, but I do feel inspired, when we see things that speak. So, hey, lovelies, to all who actually see this, and this is including you guys, you have a purpose, and I'm proud of you for getting through the day. You're awesome. I hope you have a good night. Wake up tomorrow and kick some tush. So look, guys, if you're listening to this, you made it through the day. You're awesome. You have a purpose, just like they had a purpose in the show. And, I hope you're feeling great and ready to get some rest and go on for tomorrow. But
yeah, thank you at Miss Ma'am for that tweet, by the way. You can follow her on Twitter.
Yes. And lastly, we just wanted to give people shout outs. Laura Drew Holmes, people aren't looking for miracles, they're looking for hope. And I absolutely agree with that. So that's just a little fan shout out. And Ralph Smart tweeted, "The universe is about to bless you tenfold."
Oh, I love that.
If that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Can we just take that in and accept that as our reality?
Yeah.
I think that's a great way that, God speaks to us through people and through social media. So, guys, we are out of time. We're hating to see you go, but you can tune in next Sunday after God Friended Me, because we'll jump right on into episode 6 and cover the after show. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Jamie Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jamie Alexander.
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Wahab. You can follow me on Twitter at Mina Makes Magic. And in the words of Miles from the show, healing people is not a burden, it is an opportunity.
Amen. Love that. Bye, guys.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.